Hey everyone, it's Denise, and welcome to A Soul Break. We take a soul break every month on the third Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Today, we're going to take a soul break from unsolicited advice. Happens all the time, right?
Yes.
I thought we could take a break from it. Okay, here's why I think unsolicited advice is difficult. We are venting about a situation which is difficult or challenging or heartbreaking, or all three. And unsolicited advice arrives in a way that feels like we weren't heard, like the person we're talking to didn't get our reality, didn't really take the time to understand our perspective. And they also don't seem to have a grip on the reality that our emotional response to a really tough situation is expected and normal. In addition, it negates our wisdom. Oftentimes, people will give us advice. And honestly, if we could have done that, we would have done it probably years ago, but it's not possible or logical or reasonable. So the unsolicited advice lands with a thud because we feel like we weren't heard, we weren't respected, we weren't understood. I also think that sometimes unsolicited advice sounds like we're wrong, and we're not wrong. We might be experiencing a situation that's wrong for us, but we're not wrong. And unsolicited advice can feel like an attempt to fix us when we don't need to be fixed. And that's why we want to take a break from unsolicited advice, because it's really hard to hear. I thought it would be helpful to start with reflection on our truth. And our truth is when we're in a tough spot, we're going to have a normal emotional response. It could be frustration, it could be anger, it could be grief, it could be overwhelm, it could be 50 other emotions. And sometimes what happens is people want to take those emotions away from us because they think the emotions are painful. The situation is painful. Our emotions are a natural response. It's an ability for us to work through a tough situation when we feel our way through it. It makes sense that we're angry at times because there's a lot to be angry about. And for someone to say, don't be mad, there's no reason to be so angry, or calm down, that's the one that used to drive me nuts, calm down, is really, in some regard, negating our experience. Of course, we're going to have these emotional responses. And of course, it's good for us to have that because it reflects our truth, our reality. When we name the emotion, we can start to heal through it. If someone tries to take the emotion away from us, they take the opportunity for us to heal. They minimize our experience. When you're in a tough spot, you're going to have an emotional response, and that's normal. When we take a soul break, I lead us through 3 questions, which become prompts for you to consider. So here's the first question for you. As you consider the last time you received unsolicited advice, what was true for you about that situation you vented about? The truth could be that you were experiencing something difficult and that you were angry about it, that you were heartbroken about a particular relationship and you were crying about it, that you were overwhelmed by the to-do list and you were frustrated by it. That's the truth. And it makes sense that that's the truth because who else wouldn't feel frustrated, be in tears, or feel frustrated? It makes sense. So the truth for you is basically a statement about the situation and how you felt about it. That's the truth. So as you reflect on a situation or a relationship or a time that you have vented about and someone tried to take you out of it, minimize your experiences, think about what actually is the truth about it for you. And I picked this image because sometimes we hide our truth behind lock and key. And let's unlock it just for now, just with us. Unlock it. Write it down, think it through in your head, feel it in your heart. What's true for you? Here's our next prompt. What can you validate? In the training program that I developed for certified caregiving consultants, we learned this communication strategy, which is validation. It's an expression of understanding that the reason you're feeling how you're feeling is a direct result of a situation, an experience, a relationship. And as a result, it makes sense that you're going to feel this way. You can validate your own emotion. Given what you're going through, it makes sense that you feel this way. What's the emotion you feel about a certain situation? Take a moment and validate it. If you are angry because someone in the family doesn't help, of course you're going to be angry. You need their help and they're withholding it. It's painful. It's hurtful. Of course, you're going to have angry thoughts about it, angry responses about it. If there's a particular difficult decline that has happened recently with your caree, of course it's going to break your heart. Of course it's going to make you sad. And sometimes I think we talk ourselves into believing, well, I've been through this before. I don't know why it's hitting me so hard right now, or I know to expect that this is happening. I don't know why I'm so upset about it. It's because it's upsetting. It's because it's heartbreaking. We can validate our own emotions. We can acknowledge that there's a reason why we feel as we do. Rather than talking ourselves out of how we feel, let's acknowledge that there's a reason why. Let's validate it. Here's our third prompt. Sometimes unsolicited advice comes out of nowhere. And you think, oh man, I didn't ask for that. I didn't want it. I don't know why I'm getting it. And sometimes it comes because you thought, I just need to vent. I just need a good listener. I'm just going to share what's happened. And then, boom, unsolicited advice arrives. Let's support that feels better. Rather than unsolicited advice, what do you like to receive? It could be solitude. It could be journaling as you have a cup of hot tea. It could be a walk around the block. It could be a moment to sit outside on the front porch. I coached a family caregiver this morning, and that's what she does when she needs a break. She goes and sits outside on the front porch. That's the support that feels better for her. What is it for you? We know how it feels to receive unsolicited advice. Awful. What's the opposite of that? When do you feel energized, understood, loved, supported, honored, acknowledged? That's better support. Who provides that for you? When does it happen for you? How does it happen for you? What's better support for you? I love this photo because of the different colors and because of the cup that feels like it's also holding us. So we're being held in a place of support and comfort. We think about belief statements every time we take a soul break because I think it helps us move into what works better for us. You can think through some belief statements that help you remember that your emotional response is normal. And that could be a belief statement. I believe that how I'm feeling right now is warranted. I believe my emotional response makes sense. I believe I have a right to the emotions that I'm feeling right now. I believe it's important to name how I'm feeling because when I name it, I can start healing it. Those beliefs and statements then empower you. They become your guide. You could write one belief statement, and that would be powerful. You could write a couple. You could write a belief statement about who you vent to when you're feeling overwhelmed, knowing that they are the right kind of support for you. It could sound like, I believe when I'm overwhelmed, I can take note of what has overwhelmed me and then share it at my next support group meeting. You could also replace at my next support group meeting with my next therapy appointment or my next coaching call. You could write another belief statement that sounds like, I believe when I'm feeling difficult emotions, I can turn to prayer to help heal them. Okay, so now you have a belief statement. And then you can get specific around belief statements as it relates to how you interact with these categories on the wheel. For instance, if it feels like during holiday celebrations, you kind of get your fill of unsolicited advice, you can say, I believe during holiday celebrations, I can ask everyone to take a break from offering me unsolicited advice because I'm on holiday. As it relates to courage, you could think of a belief statement around, I have the courage to name my emotions. And then you could think of a belief statement around values as it relates to unsolicited advice. And it could be, I value those in my life who simply listen. And because of that, I also believe in the value of being a good listener myself. I like to have guidance around my own actions and words based on what works for me. If I know unsolicited advice doesn't work for me, I'm going to be careful not to offer it to someone else. And instead, I'm going to focus on being a good listener. You could think of a belief statement for each category or just a couple categories. It's a little helpful to get a little more specific so that when you are in certain situations or experiencing frustration around certain relationships, you can create a belief statement which helps guide your actions and words within those experiences. Okay, and here's my last question to you. How can you share your truth in safe spaces going forward? The reason I picked this particular image is because it has a variety of flowers and a variety of color. And it also seems to be beautiful in a way that is uncontrolled. It's not a structured garden, for instance, where we see certain flowers in one group and then other flowers in another group. This looks like an image of wildfires, wild flowers, given permission to simply be. And it reminds me that we can allow our emotions to be with us as well. We don't have to control them. We don't have to contain them. We don't have to stomp them out. We can acknowledge that we are humans with the capacity to feel in vibrant color in different ways for different reasons. And that's what makes us unique and interesting. And with that perspective, it helps us then pivot to where's the safe space to share how you're feeling. And it could be that right now, the safe space is your journal. That's perfect. It could be with your friend who's always there for you. It could be in a support group or with a therapist or with a coach. Where's your safe space? And when you have that safe space, you want to nurture it and take care of it. And when you can, you want to be a safe space for others in your life. Okay, that's our soul break for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here. I do post archives of all our soul breaks in our community, which you can visit at caringourway.com. You are welcome to join us and participate in any of the events or special initiatives we have going on. We'd love to connect with you. Okay, thanks so much for being here.